Advanced English Arabic Learning Session 47. Victim of Polish thugs tells of his appalling ordeal. His misshapen and bruised face is shocking evidence of the vicious beating he endured. He did not like poachers on his turf. The plot of land has been turfed, cover with turf. She fluttered her long lashes, an eyelash. Some schools in UAE have slashed fees. They lashed him repeatedly about the head. A company should foster learning and the exchange of knowledge. He was flanked by 2 of his 4 beloved daughters. Waves lashed the coast. My parents foster kids all the time. The inmates had spent some point of their life in the foster care or in the juvenile system. The cat was lashing its tail back and forth. He was sentenced to 50 lashes for his crime. That illegal delay in delivery of the transcript of a hearing. She has had an operation to correct a severe squint. They were living under the threat of the lash. He was lapped in blankets. She's lapping up the attention. Mule, a woman's slipper without a back. Drugs mule, a courier for illegal drugs. The men were involved in a turf war with a rival gang. Liz received a letter the following day reiterating this. And mortgage brokers are now reiterating the basic premise. Political violence was rampant. A rich soil soon becomes home to rampant weeds. Answer me rapid fire. They carried placards reiterating the need for abolishing child labor. The club's gentrified supporters. Her eyes blazing with fierce indignation and rampant fury. A wide variety of lubes and waxes. Slogans emphasized the need to end this social menace, which was rampant there. Lube the hinge with some oil. Lubricate. Reiterating that retention rather than divestment was on the agenda. I must commend the writers of the 2 letters. I will repeat with monotonous regularity until something is done about it. Reiterating the need for abortion rights for women. The media also vividly portrayed the emotional sequel of the disaster. Lube the cords before the party. As starter for discussion. Starters are the first course of a meal. Full course meals are made up of 3 courses, an appetizer, main dish, and dessert. You can add more courses to a full course meal. A prix-fixe menu is a type of menu that offers a multi-course meal for a fixed price. Nowadays, the starter is often the first course of a meal. This sequence is commonly found in prix-fixe menus. He had a special affinity with horses. A semantic affinity between 2 words. A spineless coward man. The comely Italian actress Valeria Golino. A comely specimen. The main culprits behind high levels of bad cholesterol. So don't even think about peering at your neighbor's screen. The car is returned and the real culprits are identified. Many of the detainees fight their captors at every opportunity. The unit was scheduled to disband. He managed to escape from his captors 2 nights later. Cruising in yachts. The latter can wreak havoc on your arteries and your vital organs. Zip me up. If I want a kiss I have to wipe my mouth of the milk or he won't kiss me. Muscular Nile crocodile, the world's largest reptilian predator. To take away the passports of those contemplating travel. Don't poison her against me. I hit the road, set out on a journey. The Roman city was wiped out by a volcanic eruption in 79 AD 79. Crowds of onlookers watched as guests arrived at the theater. The quality of life had degenerated. Get out of my house, you degenerate. Police will patrol Britain's streets to counter the threat posed by fanatics. To strip radicalized Muslims of their passports. A degenerate form of a higher civilization. A requiem was held for the dead queen. Speak civilly. The horror and futility of war. Bottoms up. His enemies gloated over his death. Did you come to gloat? Delivering your uppers. None of the jobs were fun, but they were doable. A fortunate stroke of serendipity. Gal pal is a female friend. It hurt that he hadn't been able to confide in me earlier. Many times I look back in hindsight and think of how I should have handled a situation. The site lies in a dense suburban residential district. The squad goals, team. The government had greater leeway to introduce reforms. There is little leeway if anything goes wrong. Almost all roads can be considered as either urban or suburban in character. A swap of properties is effectively a disposal for tax purposes. The clerk didn't read the message but continued to swipe my card again. Police concentrated their sweep on the areas around the market. Don't be a wet blanket. Firefighters entered the building to clear up the spillage and ventilate the factory. By the same token, a sterile, second airway is needed in this instance to ventilate the lung. Nothing could dampen her enthusiasm. Police conducted a sweep of the area hoping to apprehend the attackers, but to no avail. Flammable liquids should be kept in approved metal containers in a well-ventilated location. The fine rain dampened her face. But while their clothes were dampened their spirits. Is he a cynical misanthrope or a disappointed humanitarian? One that quenches or dampens enthusiasm or pleasure. In his judgments of mankind he often talked as a misanthrope. I'd always thought I was a misanthrope, but maybe I'm just an introvert instead. I thought he was about to glom my wallet, steal. The Earth is a specialized conglomerate of organisms. An introvert by nature, he channeled his frustration into wrestling. Wrestling is a sport known for its solitude and discipline. Keep your trap shut. I've witnessed many enlightening Kuwaiti women outdone themselves to prove efforts to lighten the burden of regulation. She attempted a joke to lighten the atmosphere. The sky began to lighten in the east. It thundered and lightened. On the surface he was an optimistic extrovert, preaching freedom of conscience and religion. Underneath he was different. Consider the ergonomics of your workspace, especially lighting. Another bullet zinged past him. An arrogant and opinionated man. Events took a turn for the worse when the affectionate man fell ill. An unmoored barge. He has become embroiled in an animal cruelty row. The loss of his wife has unmoored him. A foolproof security system. Let it fall apart means allow it to disintegrate. To throw all the rubble in the skip. I was able to put up with all the inconvenience. I managed to tolerate the noise and the mess. She worked out in her leotard. She asked the bishop to absolve her sins. I'll just clean the muck off the windscreen, mud. Her laughter muffled in the waterlogged air. To cure the waterlogged condition of the marshy grounds. Overwatering leads to plants that are waterlogged. Parts of the racecourse were waterlogged. Why do you let her read this muck? I'd agreed to pay for the work bit by bit, in installments. Suicidal ideation. When did it all start to go pear-shaped? It might heal things between us. At the crack of dawn. The land is zoned for housing. The zoning motion you turned in. Put the kettle on means boil some water to make tea. The ravages of scurvy. The rain does sometimes get me down, especially if it continues for a week. They would say that, wouldn't they? He had done a runner with your money. His plans turned into a fiasco, failure. It was important to remove sterile females from the data set. For months he had loved her from afar. There were teary eyes all round. Squishy tummy. We have maintenance bots in there. If the king is impotent, the land likewise becomes sterile. No matter, I'll go myself. They are technologically advanced but emotionally sterile. Their sole goal is universal domination. I still matter here. The problem is the debates on the left have been quite sterile. I'm dead chuffed to have won. He begged her to reconsider, but to no avail. The train was chuffing out of the station. Her frock could barely contain her ample charms. People are getting savvy about protecting themselves from big bills when they go on holiday. Green to the gills, looking ill. It is one of the world's most sought-after products. A quart. Stuff happens. The end. Coming next. Session 48.